Shall we begin?
Go on then. Go on, do the honors, Darren.
All right. Welcome everybody to our final webinar of the year, the final Demystifying Post Production and the final Pyro focus. I'm joined by Bianca, Lionel, Noseman, Jonas, Dustin, and Simon. Welcome everybody. Thanks for being here with us.
Hello.
And today we're going to we asked you guys to submit some of your own Pyro examples or some things that you've found online for us to comment on, and we got some really awesome submissions. Thank you to everyone that submitted. But before we get into those, there's a couple of standard things I got to mention. First of all, let me share my screen. Jonas was actually just talking about that Maxon is hiring. Hey guys, how do I share my screen? Show. Let's see, I click on this button and it's not, why can't I click on this button?
Let me send it to you, Darren.
Okay. It's weird.
Right, I've now made you a presenter, so you should have that.
There we go. All right, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Awesome. So here's the Maxon careers page. If you're interested in joining Maxon, we are currently hiring. But the thing that we typically like to tell you all about is all of the events that Maxon has, and we have a super awesome one coming up at the start of next year. This is with Ellie and is Joe doing this one with her?
That's right. Yes. Yep. They're doing a follow-up to the about 6 months or so ago. They did an amazing series of introduction to rigging. So not just rigging characters, but rigging all sorts of things. Like if you wanted like a flapping bird, for example, or a letter you want to animate, they go through that whole process. And so this is like part 2. How do you then do that with a character? And starting from scratch, how do you create the character? So they're taking it all the way from ZBrush and with some Redshift in there as well, and how to set that up inside Cinema. So there's 6 weeks of that.
That is so awesome. That's really exciting. The complete workflow from scratch. That's just awesome. So make sure that if you haven't, you go ahead and sign up for that so you get the links. Speaking of links, there is the PDF handout that's attached to this webinar. Make sure you check that out so you can get the files. Where is that? Here it is. So you can get the files, the shared resources from last week and any that we end up uploading from today. Also, here's a link to get a free t-shirt for joining us. You only have to pay for shipping, but you do need the password Maxon on fire, all capitalized. But yeah, happy holidays. Grab a shirt. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, that's right. All of our recordings, all of our webinars, everything is recorded, and you can find it on the Maxon Training Team YouTube page. Here's here's last week's demystifying, and yeah, everything is that we do is up here. What else? What am I missing?
Quick comment on there. Drake asked, hey Drake asked if we were going to put up Oliver's files that we talked about last week, and yes, we will. I will do that during the course of this show, and we'll remind you all the link of that, but I'll do that now.
Thanks, Simon. Let's see. So is that everything for the housekeeping?
I think so. Yes.
Cool. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, there is. So yeah, we asked you guys to send in some stuff for us to react to, and the first one is. Let's see. Here we go. It's by. Forgive me for mispronouncing your name possibly, but Yanan Tao shared a little reel with us. Let me go full screen. You guys think I should slow down the speed of this when I press play?
Let's see what it looks like. Often we get, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not too bad showing us on via
No, it's
YouTube.
good here as well.
That's pretty good.
Oh, that one is cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I love this one.
Oh,
What?
Was that for us?
Oh, I always love this.
That is cool. That is cool.
Ooh. Is that a letter? Did you guys see a letter there?
could be.
Might be,
Maybe.
yeah.
Let's see. Can we let's post this link. Let me let's see. Let me stop sharing, or let's see. I think I can just copy and paste this in the chat for everybody. Where's the, there it is. I love the colored smoke blending. That's like one of my favorite things to see people do.
Mhm.
And
Agreed.
there
Yeah.
we go. Thank you
It's
very
really
much for
cool
that
you see that.
that submission.
There
Yeah,
was
what
some,
do you guys think?
there was some discussion, Darren, about creating different smoke, and there's a number of different ways to do that. Is that worth one of us just jumping in and showing how you do that?
I think so. Do we have any volunteers, or am I calling on someone?
Well, let the audience pick one.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Who do you want us to show that?
Give him a second to post.
So Drake said, cheers, Simon. I don't know if that's related, but.
Oh, Simon, you down?
That's because I'm digging out the links at the moment.
Marcelo wants this.
So I'm busy.
Marcelo was first.
Yeah, we got 2 votes for Noseman and 1 for 3 for Noseman. 1
3
for
for Noseman.
Noseman. Looks like you are up, sir, to
Okay.
show us how to emit and blend colored smoke.
Okay. Let me fire up the legit version of Cinema 4D because I was using some cracked version. So.
For the record, he was not.
I'm
Good start.
So where's the and Simon, because I'm very good at Cinema 4D, I'm not very good at GoToWebinar. How do I share my
I'll send it over to you. I got you.
I've sent it to you. You should see a button that says share screen.
on my screen? The question is, which screen is it showing?
We're seeing my chat with you.
Yeah, we're saying Teams
So,
window.
one. It should be Cinema 4D now.
Now it's
Yes.
Yay! So
That's always dangerous, isn't it?
yeah, the good thing is that I never have anything. Everything that's secret is on my other computer, which is out of sight because I have a little thing. Yeah.
You know, it's just behind you, your other computer. We can see that screen.
That's my other computer. I have a lot of computers. So a couple of things everyone needs to know if they want to make Pyro. And if you're watching any of my tutorials, you will know that we start with a sphere of 30 centimeters. Right? That's the main thing. If you don't do this, everything is going to go astray. So then let's go and add a Pyro tag. Want to see blending smoke? Is that what we want to see?
Should we hide our videos?
I think
No.
we're all right. We're going to be jumping to and fro for different things, so I think it'll be all right today.
Yeah.
And you're all so good looking. I want to keep, so when I look on this side, it's because I'm looking at you guys getting inspired, then looking back at my monitor. So
Dustin was saying that every time you talk, he just can't hide his, oh my goodness, that's an amazing technique face that he always has.
we do that all the time. We call each other and we do all these faces and we say how good we are. Don't worry, we're covered. So A couple of things I like to set beforehand, and just to give you a better way of working. And that would be that when you pull up your Pyro settings from the project settings, what I like to do is go to the simulation Pyro, tear this out. You will see I'm doing that constantly, my tutorial. And whenever you click on that button, it creates a copy of the state of that attribute manager. And then you can grab the little hamburger icon and dock it. So now we can see both the emitter parameters and the scene settings. And if you press Control or Command, if you have one of those very good Apple computers, Apple, if you're watching, you know, you click on that and it folds it, and then you can click on this and open it. So we're going to be sort of going back and forth between that. So the way we define for the density parameter, the color happens in here, in this little panel. And I'm not going to emit any temperature just to keep things nice. And I'm going to emit 50 units, whatever that is, per frame and nothing per second. So set, wherever you see the word set, it's per frame. Wherever you see the add, it's per second. And now we're going to get a bunch of smoke going up. And this smoke is by default white. And you can just go here and set this, let's say, to green. So rewind, press play. Now we have green smoke. So what I'm going to do in this particular case is mix it by, I'm going to create two gravities just to add a bit more interest in this. I'm going to go to my simulation settings, which of course I could go here, but I didn't. And I'm going to go to the scene and remove the gravity because I want to control the gravity using gravity object. And I'm going to use fields to do that in an interesting way. So gravity now is pointing downwards. Therefore, buoyancy is going against it. And this is moving this little smoke upwards. And I'm going to go to this gravity and add a spherical field. So now that gravity is only going to be applied within that field. What I'm going to do now is make a copy of the sphere, the gravity, and the spherical field, and move it to the side over here. I'm going to rotate the whole thing just to rotate the gravity. And I'm going to go to my second sphere. I'm going to set my smoke to red. What should happen here is that the buoyancy, because it goes against this gravity for this emitter, because it's within the bounds of the spherical field, is going to go that way, and this smoke is going to go that way, and they should blend right there, and we get yellow. So this is just the very basics of how you can make things nice and blendy smoke and all that. And the final thing I'm going to end it with, because I want to hear what everyone else has to say, is that you need to understand that whatever unit of either density or temperature or fuel emitted by default when you're using your default settings belongs to the same scene. The simulation does not know that the green smoke is coming from another source. It doesn't know anything as far as I'm concerned. What you see here is a different parameter called color, and it's added, so to speak, on top of everything else. So you cannot separate this bunch of smoke that contains green, orange, red, and all those. This is one bunch of smoke, and the system is agnostic as to where this is coming. And the final point is that if you want to get rid of all these jaggies here, that is to do with the simulation resolution. And currently, each and every one of these little cubies you see has a 5 centimeter. It was 5 centimeters. If you go in and you can actually measure this using a little cube, you'll see this is 5 by 5 by 5. So if you want to make your simulation a bit more high resolution, but consume a bit more of your RAM, then you lower that. And you can smooth it out by going to your turbulence sizes, turbulences. Simon, you can correct me whenever you feel I'm saying something wrong.
Turbulences will do.
Okay, and look at that. That's now more rounded and all that. So with this little effect, back to you, whoever is going to take the screen. Or do you have any questions? Let's see if there are any questions. If anyone has a question, just ask questions.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Newsman, for jumping in there. Well, one of the things that I thought was really cool, let me bring that video up again. was, Darren, show my screen here, was how it starts with this, there we go. It sort of, oh, there we go. We can see it sort of starts with this existing volume that is then blown up. And let me go playback speed half.
That's a super cool one.
Yeah.
I nominate Jonas to show us how to colorize smoke as an after process, as a process later on in time, like this, where you can see that all the pink smoke is on the left and the
Yeah,
green one.
And I think we get a bit of a
coming from the
cue.
lighting, which that's pretty
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
But the effect itself is
Mhm.
is really cool with the tornado.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a try.
Oh yeah.
Let me. Yeah, I have to move here because I'm gonna use my PC for
I
that.
don't know which. Is it the Jonas or the Jonas pills that we're sending it to?
Send it to Jonas.
Okay.
Jonas is so good. There's two of him. If you've ever wondered how he manages
One is
to
my
do-
PC. One is my PC, and the other one is my Mac here.
Oh.
So now I'm on the PC.
If you've ever
And
wondered how Jonas manages to do all the content that he does. He does a weekly tip. He designs sessions for customers, and he does live presentations, whatever. It's because there's two of him, and they're both logged in today.
And
Yes.
like none of them complain all the time. That's amazing.
none of them. None of them.
None of
But
them.
they're constantly saying that they need more of themselves. However, that's another thing.
Ooh.
Before we jump into that, I want to respond to one of the questions that was in the question section, which is how can we have how can we use multiple Pyro objects in a scene? And one thing you have to understand is that whenever you create a Pyro object here on both of these spheres here and press play, that the whole simulation is not running here in the Pyro object. The simulation itself is running in the simulation scene. And the simulation scene, when you go Control D and simulation, this is the simulation scene settings, everything here. And Pyro is also part of the simulation scene. That's important to understand. So in order to get multiple Pyro objects, you also need multiple simulation scenes. So let's do this. And for the sake of making this so that I know what I'm doing, I'm going to rename the Pyro text to 1 and 2. And I'm also going to create 2 simulation scenes because, yeah, then I would be able to, for example, have a different voxel size per Pyro object or simulation scene in that case, because it's not the Pyro object, it's the simulation scene that defines the voxel size. So let's go to simulate and let's create 2 simulation scenes. Now you can see that we have 2 of them. Actually, we have 3 of them because the default one is still here. So this is the default one, and then we've got 2 other simulation scenes in here. And now I can say here in the scene settings of this first simulation scene, I want the first pyrotech to be in here, and for the second one, I want pyrotech 2 to be in here. And now you can see that we have 2 simulation scenes, 2 Pyro objects that are linked to those simulation scenes. And the good thing now is that we can adjust the Pyro settings here. So for example, we can set the voxel size of one of the 2 to 20. And now if I press play, you can now see that this is the Pyro simulation with the voxel size of 5 centimeters, and this is the one with 20 centimeters. One thing to keep in mind is that those 2 simulations can now not interact with each other. So they are not going to interact. In order to make them interact, you need 1 simulation scene. That's why 1 simulation scene is the default. All right. now let's go to the actual scene. I hope that's clear now. So I think the better workflow for this is actually to create a simulation, cache it out as a VDB, and then bring it into another scene, because in the end, for rendering, you need to cache it anyway. And I would just recommend going the caching way. Actually, it doesn't. I can't think of a scenario where it makes sense to have multiple Pyro simulation scenes with different settings in one scene. Yeah, caching would be better, because then it also doesn't have to be calculated live, and it will be faster. Alrighty, let me close this and let me try to recreate the other thing. So what we had was some sort of plane, right? And there was Pyro on it. And in this case, I would say there was no temperature, but there was some density. Yeah, let's set this density to, let's say 2 for now, and I'm not going to add density here. I'm just going to go with set here. So when I press play now, this is what happens. Okay, that looks good. And now I create two more emitters, 2 spheres, one here.
So you thinking they're just velocity?
I think they are just velocity. Yeah. So the cool thing about emitters is that they cannot only like emit density or temperature, they can also just emit fuel or velocity. So let me create 2 more Pyro tags here. And let me go to density and tick it off. Velocity is what we need, and I'm going to set this to absolute velocity. Let's go with 1,000, and we need to set up the direction. So one of them is going to be plus X direction. That's going to be this one. This is plus X, and this one is going the other direction. So against that that arrow here. So this is going to be -1. All right, and now let's see what happens. Okay, perfect. That's a good start. Mm-hmm. That's a good start. I want to move them out a little bit, and I think what happened then, maybe it was a little bit too strong, wasn't it?
Yes, the velocity was too strong.
Yeah. So let's bring it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's better. All right, and now the interesting part is to rotate this whole thing, and I think that there was a
force.
That was just a rotation force, exactly, and it has to point up with the Z, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it definitely had I think it probably had a field in it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that the velocity was pushing that density into it, and then
exactly.
It was
going, yeah. So I'm going to use a cylinder field here and make it. Okay, because it's under the rotation. That's why it didn't point up immediately, but I think we're pretty good here already. So let's try something like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's doing something. It's doing something. I think the radius can be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, getting there, but we need more angles, angle speed here. Let's do something like this.
It was also a lot more dense, so that as it swirled up, you could sort of see it fall apart as it was swirling. Rather
denser, you said?
Yeah.
So let's bring up the density in the plane.
And it looks like he also reduced some of that turbulence or vorticity.
Yeah. So you can do that again in the project settings, or in the, for now in the Pyro, but let me bring up the project settings. There are multiple ways of bringing up the project settings. Control D is the one when you want to go with a shortcut, but you can also click the burger icon here, not the burger icon, mode, and then go up to project, or you can go to edit and project settings. This is the third one. So here we have this extra forces section, and we need less vorticity. Let's bring this down to 1, and maybe let's also reduce the turbulence a bit. Maybe something like this. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, and I want to use the same field to push everything up. So we can do that with a wind. Yeah, let's use some wind. So I'm going to use the force here, wind force.
Create
also
a helix, put it in a force field, and it's going to push and spiral things upwards. That's my favorite method of spiraling things.
Yeah, that's also a good one. Now, since I'm almost finished,
No, do it
again. All right, so let's see.
It's always the same problem with Cinema 4D. You can do the same thing in so many different ways with different amounts of control.
There we go.
Maybe we need to stop doing that. Maybe we need to cut features out. Oh, let me write a memo.
Cut things out. Or what? So I think
we did have a question about VDBs in the questions area, Jonas, specifically about turning a simulation still into a VDB. I think that's been a couple of people have commented on it, but would you say a few words on that?
Sorry, what was that again? To turn the single frame into a VDB?
Yeah.
Was that the question? Okay.
Yes.
So you can do that. The way I do it is typically by going to the Pyro object, because the Pyro object is the object that is actually there to export the Pyro data into a volume grid, right? So what you see here is something you cannot render because, well, it's in a faster environment, and in order to render it, it needs to be a VDB, but the VDB stuff is a little bit slower then. So, and VDBs can have different grids in one VDB file. So it can hold density, temperature, velocity, and all of the other parameters here. For now, we only need density. We only need the density, and I set it to on. And in theory, if I'm not mistaken, if you right-click now and go to current state to object, it's creating this density volume. You have to save this, right? You have to save it, but here it is. That's it. But it is still a VDB. It's just that single frame, but you have to save it to your drive. Okay. Let's undo this. Okay. So now we still have it here, and yeah. The other question was rendering, right? Rendering this. So in order to render this, we have to use a renderer that is capable of rendering volumes, and standard and physical are not capable of doing that, but Redshift is. So I'm going to use Redshift. And with Redshift, what I usually do is I start with a dome light, and then sometimes I add other light objects as well. So for now, yeah, we have the dome light, and I'm also going to create a material. And I want to create the Pyro volume because it has the relevant fields in the material shader already pre-populated, like here for scattering. The density grid is in there, and that's what we need. And I'm gonna, well, I could now throw this onto the Pyro or on this one here. Let's go with the Pyro for now. I'm just gonna delete this one. Pyro is going to work because density is set to on. If it was on export, it wouldn't work, but because it's set to on, this will work now. And if I render this, we should now see some smoke. Exactly. All right. And then the next thing is actually to create a few more lights. So what I typically do is I tone that down a little bit, that area light. I bring that down and colorize it. So let's go with something like this, just so that we have a little bit of color in here. But then I typically use area lights to light the scene. And now we can place one area light here, for example, like so. And the other one, I'm just going to control click and move this one over to here. I'm going to rotate it in like so. Now I would colorize these two as well. So let me colorize this one. And what was the original color here? I think one was a little bit orangish, right?
Check.
And what was the other one? The other one was.
It was. Give me a second here. Here we go. It was like a pink and a blue green. It was like a hot pink and a light.
Something like that.
Let's say seafoam. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So now I have this, and then usually what I do is I go into the Pyro material, and under absorption, I want this to absorb less. So yeah, I usually bring this down a little bit, but here you have to find a good balance actually. But yeah, this is how I would do it. And then in this case, I would go to the dome light, select it, and untick environment so that we have a black background. Yeah, but that's pretty much how I would do it in 10 minutes. If I had more time, I would definitely spend more. Yeah.
That's awesome.
More time on the aesthetics.
That's like right on the money.
That's amazing. By the way, Jonas said, "Don't show me any of the things. I'm going to react live." And so this isn't a pre-researched thing. This is like off the cuff. So the two things amaze me about this. One, that Darren is absolutely right with the seafoam color. That's this. I did a little search about the seafoam hex code is 93E9BE. So that's exactly spot on as well. But great work, Jonas, for just like, oh, I'll recreate that from scratch immediately. Amazing stuff.
Yay!
Slow
Way
clap.
to close out the year.
Yes.
So there's one thing about these webinars. So from some questions, Peter Shermers was asking about clouds. I haven't done a tutorial on clouds yet, but what I realized, you can actually load a pre-made VDB from any source, and you can actually, just one frame, you can evolve that using Cinema 4D's simulation system. So you can get a cloud at a fixed state from any source, and there is a way, I'm not going to give the information out yet, I've just done it in the background. I think I'm going to make a tutorial about that, because you can load a bunch of, you may find a static cloud in a VDB from a lot of sources, and you can put some wind to diffuse that or move it around and do stuff like that, all starting from a single pre-made VDB. So thanks for your questions, because this is what inspires us to do our training and do our tutorials. It's your questions, and sometimes these questions don't seem to be, relevant to a subject. Oh, that will inspire one of our trainers to do something. So keep them coming, please.
I'm glad you mentioned that one, Noseman, because it made me think of this example that I found on Instagram of a nebula. And this is something that's been asked regularly, almost every time we do a live stream with Pyro. And I thought this one, first of all, is gorgeous. And I also love that he has an editor view. so we can see how the lights are in there with the pyro, or maybe those might even be
Separate video.
Yeah.
That's the trick. Yeah, when you see those dark, you can show the areas so people understand. When you see something like this, you can tell by those overlapping gray patches that seem those things there. That indicates that this is a multiple VDB source. It's not one simulation, and it shows what you can do by creating smaller ones, exporting them, and then bringing them in and art directing the whole thing by placing it in place. Yeah, great example there.
You know what this reminded me of? Looking at this, it reminded me of actually one of Lionel's tutorials when he did the Harry Potter titles.
Yeah,
with
the clouds.
The smoke in the clouds.
I'd like to do it again now with Pyro, because I did the cloud using only the volume builder, and we can do much more with Pyro. So maybe that's something I could try right now to do a cloud.
Pass it over to you.
Let's try. So yes, can you see my screen?
I see a desktop.
Yes.
Now I see cinema.
All right. I hope, yeah, my internet connection here is not really great. So tell me if it's too slow and too stuttering. We will see if it works. So yeah, that was some stuff I was doing in the background. But let's try a cloud. So we've seen, actually, Nozman spoke about it, how to create just a smoke. It's pretty easy. If we take a sphere, we can start from there. And using the coordinates, well, let's make it more like a cloud first. So what I would do is, for example, use our volume builder. So I put my sphere inside, and now I can use another sphere. So let's try another one, and let's put it here. If I put this other sphere inside the volume builder, so we're creating some object, okay? And I can create another sphere again, still here. I can try to change the shape, do something like that. I'm creating some kind of cloud, maybe like that, for example. Okay, and from there, with our volume builder, so still no Pyro, just trying something very simple. I can try to have a lower voxel size. Let's increase the segments too. And that could be the starting point for a cloud. So from there, if I'm not mistaken, we can change that to fog setting, and now it's a cloud already. We could render this. So that was the old technique. I used from there one field to create holes in it to make it look like a cloud, but we can use that as a source for Pyro. So if I use now Pyro, put it in there, it's going to work because it's already some voxel. It's a fog, so it's going to work. And here we have to disable surface emitter. I'm not even sure about that because I think that's because the fog, it's already a cloud basically. We don't need to, but I'm going to untick it anyway. And then in the Pyro object, we're going to change on the tree settings, the padding to 0. So that it stays inside. And now it works already, meaning that if I hide this and start from the first frame, you can see we have something. So, but it's burning. We don't want to have a burning cloud. Why not? But we don't. So what we're going to do is here to change a few stuff. So actually we need the density, but we can try without the temperature. So in that case, we just have density. It's going to evolve over time because we have all the turbulence and so on. We could try to have some temperature with very low temperature. We could also play with the buoyancy, buoyancy to make it look more stable like that, but I don't have much time, so I'm going to just use here the density. And it's moving, evolving, because we have two things. We have here the noise, so that's the noise for the emitter. So if I increase the noise, and maybe if I increase the strength, the noise scale, it will create some artificial holes inside. Yeah, you can see it here. See, it's evolving at the very first frame. It's definitely too strong. So maybe let's decrease frequency here, and I guess noise strength to 4, and maybe noise scale to 30. All right, so why not? And the other thing is in Pyro to work with the turbulence. Turbulence, here it is. So this is the strength of the turbulence, and this is the octave scale. And because a cloud is something very big, we need to increase that size. So maybe let's try 10. And you can see it's more like it already. Maybe let's try to 20. All right, and we're getting there, as you can see. There's something happening. And
That's
also something we could try is to work with the dissipation. So because actually it's creating smoke at each frame, so it's going to build up inside, and it's fading, but we can make it fade faster. Yeah, so maybe here the relative density dissipation, let's bring it up to 15.
Wouldn't that just make the cloud just disappear?
If I go too far, yes, it's going to make it disappear. As you can see, at some point, it's dissipating so much that it's almost not there anymore. But that's very good also to control the density of the whole thing. So anyway, it's all moving too fast, I think.
Yeah, I would try putting the buoyancy values to 0 so that they're not moving. And I would probably use some of the velocity dampening.
Yeah, there are many things we can do. Yeah, density buoyancy, we could try to, well, actually there is no temperature already. So if we want if we go back here on the tag, and we have here the density, because we don't have any temperature, there's nothing to make it rise.
Oh, density rises by itself.
It
rises by itself if the value is in a negative. Yeah, if you set that to 0, it's going to stop rising. The temperature just adds to that. And one thing I want to say something about the units. So the volume emission is much more powerful than it seems. Now, Lionel has created a fog volume with the internal value of 1 and 0 at the edges. When you go to your emission tag where it says set, those density, for example, the set, if you set to 1 and add density to 0, the value of density is going to be equal to the fog volume. So you're going to get a value of 1 at the center, density, and it's going to fade out to 0. And what you can do, that's one of the tricks you do when you load a VDB file and you want to do it. Plus, you can keyframe your enabled of your density from frame 1 to frame 2, and it only creates 1 frame, which is equal to whatever value you have. And if you get rid of dissipation and all the motion, then that is going to be a stable cloud. But you have to stop it from emitting, because if it emits, then it adds more and more and more of that value of density, and it will make your cloud darker, so to speak, more impenetrable to light. But you create your cloud at frame 1, you disable emission at frame 2, and you make sure that you don't have any dissipation, any buoyancy, and very small turbulence just to make the cloud move a bit. And basically you have a stable cloud. And if you set your unit to be something like 2 or 3, you just create a more dense cloud in that one little frame.
Yeah, now we can see it's dissipating because I have turned off the density. So we need to go back to Pyro and, like you said, decrease the dissipation. If we put it to 0, it's not going to I guess.
Yeah, if you put it to 0, but you have to put both the relative, which is per second, and the absolute, which is per frame.
Yeah, and the absolute.
Yeah.
And then
only
the forces are going to move it around. And if you turn down your turbulence, then your cloud is going to be stable. And what I do when I do my test clouds is just use localized forces, turbulence, and stuff like that to make parts of it move a bit.
And that's it. Well, not really, but it's still a starting point.
It's in the right direction. It's just like a matter of tweaking.
Yeah, and then from there, if you want to render, we just need to tick here the density for this frame, and still go to the material. Yeah, I need to change to redshift and create volume, Pyro volume. Let's put it there. And there is no temperature, so here it's not going to do anything, but we still have the density, so it's going to do something. And we could create a sun and sky rig, and let's take here let's put it this way maybe. And now let's go to our Redshift render view. Or is it? Oh, yes, it's here. We do have our cloud, and of course it's much too strong. So here I'm going to change the density. Well, let's decrease here the absorption to maybe 0.3. And so decrease the density, the scatter, and so on to make it.
I've been told that I shouldn't do this, but you can also go to the Pyro Advance, the Pyro Volume Material Advance, and turn down the shadow.
Yeah.
All the values, you can remap values in there and define how thin or thick your cloud is going to be.
Yeah, if you try with this, it's very interesting too. You have an interesting result.
Turn on multi-scattering. That's a good opportunity to turn on the multi-scattering in your Redshift settings as well, because that's going to allow the light to penetrate more. It becomes slower, but the quality of your volumes become much better.
So raise it.
Oh, Buffy.
Yeah, if you go to your global where the transparencies are, we don't get real-time feedback of your screen. Now I just got the render settings.
Yes.
So you go to your advanced and you go to your globals, I think, and you look at the trace depths, and it has a new entry called volume, and you increase that to the global.
So our advanced is.
There you go.
And it says volume now has 1 bounce. And
that's
if you set something like 3 or 4, it will give you more bounces inside the cloud.
Yeah, so I need to increase back the
exactly
here our absorption. So maybe let's try to 0.3.
Yeah, this volume multi-scatter in terms of the quality of your volumetric and your pyros and all that is absolutely amazing. It does cost a little time, but the realism, the depth you're going to get is out of this world.
Yep.
It seems like I have to try this in this other scene as well.
Yeah, it's very coarse, but you get the idea of the cloud. Yeah, we're waiting for your tutorial, Nozman.
So I'm going to take a copy of code and put it online. You covered it extremely well.
This is an answer to the question, how many trainers does it take to make a cloud? And actually, that's a reference to Drake's lovely comment in the question. So Drake says, thank you for this. by the way. Watching all you collaborate in real time is one of the best part of these sessions for me. So thank you, Drake. That's absolutely why we're doing this in this way. So that's lovely for us as well to be able to do this. We just happen to be doing it, sharing it live.
Also the anisotropy, which is it works very well with the metal scattering, with just amazing thing. As you can see, anisotropy is going to bring more of the light on the edges. So yeah, I have to try to work even more on the absorption and so on. Yeah, it's tricky to get the right balance everywhere.
All right.
Features were added this year: the anisotropy and the multi-scattering in the volume.
Yes,
were both added in Redshift this year.
I need to do some Greek grandstanding now, right? Anisotropy is a Greek word. It's a combined word. Anisotropy, which means unequal direction. So basically what this does, it biases towards a certain direction, and usually the direction is either towards the lights or towards the camera. And with all sorts of volumes, even the environment volume and all that, you can bias the lighting to be more focused on the source of the light or more focused on the camera. And just by changing the anisotropy, anisotropy, Darren, it's anisotropy. Just kidding. It is, but you can add a lot of realism to your scene by just changing that. And it's one of those parameters where people don't really move around, but it will improve your volumetric scattering quite a bit by defining, or if you want your hero objects to be a bit clearer, you just bias it towards the light sources. Whereas if you want it to seem a bit more muggy, a bit more moody, bias it towards the camera. But anyhow, anisotropy, that's what I have for now.
So you say camera or light sources, I just say front or back.
True.
Or forward or backward.
Yep. Because
we can see it.
Yeah.
On the screen here, there is more light on the fringe, more light on the center, but because the cloud is very dense, so we don't see it much the other way. But on the other way here, if it's a positive anisotropy, it's very strong. We have this fringe effect. But yeah, the cloud need to be much better to really get the effect. It still works.
Thank you, Noseman, for that reference. I feel like the tag or the unofficial title for this episode should be "Come for the techniques, stay for the Greek references."
Yeah, I have more of those.
Always got those. Darren, do we have some more examples that we can show?
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, we do. There were a couple more that were submitted. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Maybe let's first go through all of them just to make sure that everyone who sent something in.
Yes.
I'm not sure. So Jonas, I'm not sure I have all of them loaded up. So can you see if you can do that?
I have all of them.
Okay. All right. Well, this is definitely one of them. I just thought this was cool because it's taking, something very practical, something that Cinema 4D is known for in, broadcast motion graphics and 3D logos and motion design, and it's adding the Pyro to an already existing logo. So it's sort of bringing that element to life, which is really cool. So I thought this was a really cool application of Pyro.
Absolutely.
In the 3D space. Let me see. Let me pause. Go ahead.
One thing I want to say is that something that's not very obvious is that when you take your Pyro object and you expose the grids, you set them to on, then you can move that around, right? You can actually put it under a cloner and create copies of that. So you can create one flame, you can cache it, or you can have it live. There you go, the right image. That's exactly what that is. So you can do these amazing dancing flames very easily just by, yeah, that's it. Good, I'm glad someone
That's a very cool one.
Yep, brilliant.
Thank you, Winhuff, for tagging this with Maxon Reacts.
That's amazing. And you can do the back and forth by saving it and then just using your cached volumes forwards and backwards. Yep, absolutely amazing.
Or you just render out the forward and then ping pong it in post.
Much more practical that way. Yeah.
Except here, does the camera move reverse? No, it doesn't. The camera move is consistent. So with what you're saying, Noseman, that's how you do this one. Because the object continues.
One of many ways. But anyway, this is a typical example of getting either your loaded cached volume from the volume object or the volume loader or the RS volume. They both load VDBs. Or you can take your Pyro object, activate your grids, turn off the visibility in your settings in the draw little button, and then just put these under a cloner, and you have clones of your flames. It takes a couple of seconds for them to register with MoGraph and appear because there's a massive amount of data there. So give it a couple of seconds to populate your screen. But you can do this. You create one fire, and then you can make fire dances and all that. Look at that. Beautiful.
I totally love that. Thanks for that inspiration.
There is no software that can do this level of Pyro motion graphics faster and simpler than Cinema 4D, just to put it out there.
Here's another one that was tagged with Maxon Reacts. Thank you very much. Mucha.art on Instagram. This one's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great timing. I love the wave coming out. Also that it's staying flat like for so long, right? And then yeah, creating this volume like just on the edge of it. That's cool.
And it's a nice example of product visualization as well.
Absolutely, that was what I was going to say too. It's lovely to see Pyro, as an esoteric thing, but to see it actually working within a whole design as well is really nice.
So that's the cool thing about Pyro, in my opinion, that actually, so whenever I did some fire tests with it and also some explosion tests, but to me it's much more fun to just use it in the motion graphics contest, because you can create all sorts of shapes, emit from all sorts of shapes, and
oh, look at that,
it's really cool. And it's always adding stuff to the work.
Who's going to show Pyro meshing? Who's going to show Pyro meshing? And
actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I saw that Lionel was doing something there, but I totally saw. I don't remember where it was, but someone was like, "Oh, I'm doing an ice and snow test with Pyro," and I was like, "Oh my God, I love it." So I decided, after I saw that render, which I've been looking for this whole time, I can't find it. But here's my first attempt. Now, of course, I'd want that to sort of start from nothing and then, and then sort of obtain this form. But this was, I actually used the volume here. So let's go. Man, GoToWebinar always sort of gets in the way. So I actually started with the spline, and let's see, this is cached for volume building and meshing speed. I cached it for playback. But let's go and show. Oh, it is there. NA, there we go. So this is just some temperature. And I have velocity off. I have a little bit of noise, but it's just a spline. And I did, in the Pyro forces, set the density to 0 and turned and changed the temperature buoyancy so it went down instead of up, but just a little bit. Now I did add some dampening and smoothing to the velocity here. So if we go 0 on both of those, and I rewind and play, then it's just going to keep. This is going to be more visible with let's see. I want to see more temperature. Let's just go like this and just make that negative and go like that. Okay. Why? Oh, because I'm, all right. So it looks like it's only density, right? That's because the temperature is the only thing that I was exporting or caching. So yeah, but I just adjusted the speed of it falling in the Pyro settings here in the object in the extra forces. And let's see. And then to get it to slow down, I just added some dampening to it. And I smoothed it out so it wasn't so it wouldn't be moving quite as much. This is all hard to see on the playback, and I cached it. And of course, because I cached it, all the settings I made we're not seeing in the view because it's just showing the cache. But I got that into a volume builder, and I've seen everyone else use the fog mode, but I wasn't able to get the base Pyro object with the spline meshed together. So like without the spline, let's turn all that off. And let's see, let's go update. Then I just had a little bit, that was actually just sort of underneath. And then I needed some ice around the spline itself. This ended up just looking a little awkward. So I smoothed all of that out, and I actually subtracted the cable that's on the inside from it, so that the ice would truly be on top. Yeah, and then let's go back to that render, and let's go 15 frames a second, rewind and play.
Well, the name Pyro on itself is a bit misleading for this technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is not it can be used for Pyro. Definitely, we've shown that. It's a system that can create evolving volume grids using multiple ways of advection. That should be the name. And wherever we see Pyro, it would just say a system that can evolve.
Volume evolver.
Yes.
So I'm going to report that to Maxon. They need to change the name for Pyro. Pyro. No, it's a volumetric evolutionary volumetric system that advects values. That's what the name should be. It's very easy.
I'm going to propose that. I'm going to wear a helmet before I do that.
We need to emphasize, and I want to see more people doing stuff like this, because just like with everything else, like MoGraph, when it first came out, it was shiny spheres, and then we saw companies like Perception and Bug and all these great companies, the studios, making beautiful things using MoGraph, which is just a replicator. Yeah, and then you get all these things. The same thing with Pyro. You have to think outside the box. It's mandatory. You're not allowed to think inside the box with this kind of stuff.
So we had a couple of other submissions. I'm just playing those back. Ooh. So this one is like a collection of examples by Hannah Nordholt. Thank you very much for sending that in to us. I think my favorite one was, let's see, where is it?
I love the paintbrush.
I love this render. I would have liked to have seen that this one animated. Let's see.
Definitely cool. But I also like this one that's running at the moment. If you go back,
This
no, the last one in here, because it has this painterly look to it.
the A is my favorite part.
That's a
so
different
this
one,
is
like,
really cool because it's actually
this one's cool.
Maxon. They actually did a different Pyro thing for each letter.
Beautiful.
That's really cool.
Very
good.
thoughtful.
Very nice.
That's the difference between artists and me. Artists make something actually that has an end product. That's nice to see.
Yeah, Noseman, you always just explain that stuff.
Yeah. I don't have the creativity gene, I think. I'm happy though, because I don't have any frustrations. I just solve the problems and feel happy about it. I don't care if it looks bad. And I think that I purposely make things look as bland and as ugly as possible because I don't want to distract people with the beauty of my art. I want to focus
The actual technique. Yeah.
It's a good
I mean,
one.
the good thing about
Not that
doing
I'm
tutorials or
non-creative, right? But it's not because I'm a terrible artist.
the good thing is about finding the solutions is that you find a solution that others might not find, right? So
I want to find the solutions. And
it's more like a right-wrong thing compared to, do I like it? Do I not like it? Okay, I like it. The next day, okay, I don't like it anymore. Okay, so as an artist, you never finish some work, right?
No, once I solve the problem, that's it. I don't want to deal with it again. That's why I have not a single thing completed in my life unless I had to get paid for it. Nothing else. If I don't have to get paid for it, I'll just solve the problem and then I feel happy. But it's very easy to get my kick out of that. I struggle for a few hours, I find the solution, and I don't need to share it with anyone. If I do, I make a tutorial or something like that, or share it with my colleagues. Other than that, I'm fully content solving problems and keeping them to myself.
Exactly the same. Huh? That's exactly the same.
Always happy until I get dementia or something like that, because it's coming.
It's like the 5, isn't it? The famous 5 stages of an artwork is like, first is, oh, this looks all right, and then it's, I hate it. Then it's, oh, I hate myself. Then it's, I suppose it's all right, and then it's, oh, client's phoned up with a deadline, we better ship it.
Oh, are you talking about me?
I know, I felt so attacked. I felt so attacked.
There was another submission which actually we got as a file, and it's a little slow to play back, but I did find it on Instagram, so I'm actually looking for that right now. Let's see. But anyone else can pick up the screen if they got something to show.
Yeah, there is, well, on Twitter, our friend Aaron Rabinovitz also tagged something.
Do you have that loaded?
I have it loaded. Give me a second.
Sure.
And I'm gonna grab the screen here.
I saw that, Noseman.
Wait, yeah, but that's the wrong computer. Wait, I make myself the moderator here. All right. Share. Here we go. So, if you have never seen this before, that's Twitter in German. And so this is what Aaron, well, he didn't tag it. He just replied to Alice.
He's got a tutorial. Everyone here, go right after this, watch Aaron's tutorial. It's absolutely amazing because he shows how to do stylized pyro. Right? Look at that sort of alcohol fire and all that. I think Aaron spent too many nights in clubs and bars, because if you haven't done that, you don't know exactly what that's about. So it's a really, really good tutorial he did.
So what I really like is, oh, now with sound. Okay, here we go. So this one is really cool. I like the pace of it. I like the way it looks, the depth in it, and also how he timed the impact and that the smoke is then dissipating. Really cool. I can also make it full screen. I mean, that would be better, right?
Yeah. The thing is, these are all really cool, and I haven't watched the whole video, but it's like I think these are all, it's somewhat of a surprising journey because they all sort of highlight a pretty straightforward feature of the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So did you find the?
I did.
The other thing?
Let me show my screen. Here we go. Can you guys see that on my Instagram page? Lunch with Allen's sent us this one.
So he's filling the text up with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah. So
cool.
he has like a wipe that fills it up, and then the outer shell disappears, and then we zoom in, and it's released into the air and dissipates.
Oh, I found a mistake. The truth is in here, not out there. It's right here. Watch live.
Maybe that was intentional.
True. See, as an artist, I don't get that. I'm very literal. The truth is here, right? We're living it. How to modify a VDB if you want.
Did I miss any submissions, you guys?
I don't think so.
And I don't know.
Getting to time for us to round it up as well.
There's that also.
Save it for a tutorial then. I'm going to save it for a tutorial, how to get a VDB still and evolve it.
That's a good one.
Good idea.
You've committed live to doing that now, so you have to do it.
Okay, I can do that. Let me grab the screen. So waiting to view down screen. No, I want to show. Someone's not giving me the screen. Darren.
Here you go. There you go.
Okay.
Darren is holding it.
My bad.
It's monitor 1. You can see the right one? The correct one?
Yes, that's the one with Cinema 4D on it.
I'm just going to go very quickly here and paste in I'm going to get rid of everything else. So what you see
before we get too caught up, did anyone else have anything else that they wanted to share before we wrap up after the NASAs? Cool. All right. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
NASAs always has to have the last word.
So this is a loaded VDB. I'm just using a volume loader. You can load it by any means you wish. You can use the Redshift loader if you have Redshift render and all that. Okay, so I want to pick one frame. So turn off animation and just scroll until you get to the frame you want. Good. This is a fog volume, and the values here are whatever they are, the densities that are accumulated. So I want to make this more so of a live volume. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this and I'm going to add a Pyro volume. And it's going to emit, of course, if I turn this off, it's going to emit from the values of the fog volume. So immediately you get temperatures, whatever the fog volume was, times whatever you're doing here. I do not want any temperature. I want a density to be set at 1. So any value that comes from the volume loader to become the equal value of density. And I'm going to go to frame 1. I'm going to enable this frame 2, disable it, click on this. So now we're going to have this thing that dissipates. Now, in order to make sure that we don't have this dissipation, I'm going to do a couple of things. So first of all, if you do that technique I showed you, pulling the attributes here, when you open a new file, you just have to unlock it and lock it, and you're back to normal. So we don't care about the tree settings currently. I'm going to set all my buoyancies to 0 and all my vorticities and all that to 0. I'm going to set my turbulence sizes to 0. I'm going to turn my densities, or sorry, my dissipation is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to make sure smoothing, it's 0 for density anyway. Turn off the draw pyro. So I only see the pyro that's going to be generated. So now I have this rewind, press play. Oh yeah, I need to go here and activate this. I didn't activate it because I turned off the drawing. There you go. So this is a stable frame that represents the value. You need to make sure that your voxel size is the same as the one you found. And I think I remember this one was 2. There's no real way to find that data now, so this is going to become a bit more sharp. There you go. But you can see it's a stable cloud, and yet it's part of a simulation. So what I can do here now is create some localized forces. Let's get a wind, and let's use a simple linear field plus y, where the value of 1 is up here. Put it in the middle. The wind is going to be applied only in the components that are above this. And we can watch this evolve, providing I increase the wind. I think the minimum would be 150. Want to see any kind of motion. And you can see it's moving. I can make this 150. Yeah, 550. And you can see that you can take any pre-made volume object.
It's like a smearing. It's very cool.
You can do all sorts of things. So, you know, this. Oh, let me mesh this, because why not? Let's
It's like the head of the turkey or so.
Look at this. You get a shape. You sort of if you want this to update in real time, you have to go to your simulation scene settings and turn on simulate before generators. And look at that. Now this is something I need to into. I do not know exactly what that is, so I'm just going to hide it. When I don't know what something is, I just hide it from plain sight. And there you go. Look at that. Right, this is not Pyro. This is
interesting.
An evolving volumetric system that advects volume grids.
That's very cool.
It's cool.
Yes.
The other stuff you could do if you want to is, instead of creating a density grid, you may choose to say, I don't want any density here. I want to create fuel. And the thing with fuel is that it doesn't follow the buoyancies and all that kind of stuff. So you can use it in different ways. So you can say, I'm going to create a frame range from frame 2 to frame 3 of value 1. And we're going to get not a very dissimilar effect. I just need to make sure that this is set to fuel, so we can get the fuel. There you go. So this is a different type of volume, but because it reacts based on the parameters here, when we have in the combustion, for example, we can combust the fuel, but we can't combust density or temperature. We can do all sorts of weird effects here. I can set my ignition temperature to, let's say, minus 10, minus 1 will ignite without any external force. I can say now I want to mesh the temperature. I don't want to mesh the fuel. I have no idea what this is going to do. And yet it's doing something. So just click the buttons and do stuff. I mean, this is incredible how you can just switch it up, knowing how the system. Look at that.
That's my favorite.
That's cool. Yeah, very
Yes.
interesting. Looks like a brain on the downside.
I will never admit that this happened just by chance. So I had a very specific plan. So I'm done. Take the brain away. That's what I want to do.
It's like gummy brain. I love it. That's so cool. Wow. So everybody, thank you for joining us today. This has been really fun. A lot of really cool examples.
Absolutely. Thanks for sending them in. That was really cool. A good session. I think we should do that more often.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Go watch the tutorials. Go watch, and there's cloth tutorials as well. And there's more. I'm uploading another 4 Pyro tutorials over the next week or so. And there's some simulation tutorials, and there's more stuff coming. And watch the quick tips. And Jonas is on his usual quick tip situation, and anything else that comes, the seminars. We have a Thursday one as well, don't we?
Yes, we have one last.
We lost you, Jan.
Yeah, one last. Ask the trainer, you were saying?
Yes.
Yeah, the GoToWebinar voice just said something to me that I muted and then I wasn't, but I wasn't muted all the time. However, so yeah, there is.
I'm sorry, that was my hotkey. I don't know what I pressed.
Did you mute me, Dustin?
Right. Come on. Right, order, please, order. So Thursday, more Pyro stuff.
Yeah, well, so there's going to be one more webinar this year. I think it's one, or are we going to have another VFX and Chill this Friday? I don't know. However, on Thursday, we're going to have the last Ask the Trainer for this year. And the topic is winter. And someone talked me into creating a snow material. And
Yay.
I think I found a solution for it.
Yeah.
A quick
So
one,
else?
and one where you can hopefully learn something. So this is going to be exciting, but it's not going to be the only thing. You can definitely ask Noseman or Darren to create like a snowstorm or something. I'm going to take care of the material. And yeah, that's
So that's
it
this
for
this
for the Ask
Thursday.
the Trainer. On Thursday. Sorry?
That's this Thursday.
This Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 5 p.m. Central European time.
And that is on our, that should be
And
on
it's
our,
11 Eastern, isn't it?
let me pull that up.
11 Eastern.
Go to my, find me on Twitter at NosemanGR, right? Noseman Greek, NosemanGR, and ask any questions or propose anything you'd like to see, and tag Maxon and tag the training team and all that as well. Or if by popular demand you don't want me to be prepared, I can not be prepared. So
Great. I want you not to be prepared. Or Ask the Trainer, winter is coming this Thursday. Here's the link on the events page, everybody, if you want to make sure that you get all the relevant information. Don't forget your free t-shirts from the store. The link is in the handout, the PDF that you can download. I just have that open here. Here's your password. You know, have a happy holidays. Thanks for being here in our final Demystifying Mondays.
One last thing before we go is just to say thank you to you all for attending. I mean, you put in some lovely comments throughout this session. We really appreciate that. But you are what makes this worthwhile and makes it work. So we really appreciate it. And thank you not only for this session, but for all the sessions this year. And we see you all coming back time and again and asking us for stuff. And that helps us drive what we're doing and what we share with you. So it's just amazing. So thank you to you. And as Darren says, I wish you all a happy holidays and festive season wherever you are. And apart from Thursday, this is the final one of the year, apart from Thursday. So Thursday is kind of an extra special one. So come for that. And yes, we're looking forward. We got some fun stuff planned for you next year. We really have. So no spoilers yet, but we're kicking off really well. So we'll share that with you on all the various channels, but just wanted to say thank you again.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It's been great.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.